Hello and welcome to Volusia Magazine. I'm Amber Osman. In this week's episode, Security First breaks ground on its new campus. Community leaders gather to discuss services available for parents and children, and Beach Rescue prepares for the Easter holiday weekend. Later on in the program, Joanne Magley talks with Chief Jeff Smith from Volusia County Fire Rescue. Those segments and more coming right up on Volusia Magazine. I hope you stay tuned. Earlier in March, a local insurance company was the first to break ground in Ormond Beach's Ormond Crossing.
When Harry Blywise and I started the company, we had very small plans. Okay, we wanted to write $20 million a year in premium. Now we're writing more than $20 million a month in premium. Actually, we're writing $450 million in premium this year. So the company has gotten much bigger than Harry and I ever imagined. And the goal was not to be big. The goal was to provide a good service to our customers and a nice place to work for our employees.
It's been 13 years since the inception of Security First Insurance in April of 2005. The company is now the second largest Florida homeowners insurance company in the state by policy count and employs over 265 full-time permanent employees. With growth and success comes a need for more space.
Ford family owns Ormond Crossings, and we purchased our 48 acres from the Ford family. And we are so thankful to have them as partners in this endeavor, and we are really looking forward to starting to develop this business park and make it a world-class facility.
Expected to be completed in 2019, the project will cost nearly $30 million in design and construction and will be designed as a campus-like setting.
We are so excited, all the effort over so many years to have this fantastic family business remain in Ormond Beach.
While this project is certainly exciting for Security First, it's also a catalyst for things to come in Volusia County. Ormond Crossings was conceived by the Ormond Beach City Commission in 2002 and took 15 years to plan and receive multi-jurisdictional permits. The insurance company will be the first business in the working, living, planned development.
World-class companies can start, grow, expand, and grow some more in Volusia County, and you're doing that right here.
It just shows that the timing's right, the right people are involved, the city of Ormond Beach working together. It just creates that message.
Well, this is where I've lived since 1959. So I wanted to stay in Volusia County if at all possible. And that was really a question for us, is could we hire the people that we needed in Volusia County? And we think we can.
And this is the gateway to Volusia County. We need to remember that. And it's the gateway to I-4 corridor.
It's a story that only could happen in America, which we're still a great place to be an entrepreneur. We're still a great place to build a business.
To learn more about Security First Insurance, visit securityfirstflorida.com. To learn about Volusia County's Division of Economic Development, you can visit volusia.org. Mid-April is maternity season for bats, and biologists with the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, also known as FWC, want to make sure these mammals are protected. It's illegal to harm or kill bats in Florida, but they can be legally removed from a building or structure following recommended and effective practices that protect bats and people. Bat maternity season starts the second week of April, so homeowners who have groups of bats roosting in an attic, eave, or chimney space and want to remove them, now is the time to act. However, bats serve a good purpose around the house because they're insectivores. Catherine Kennedy, a wildlife biologist with the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, said while many people fear bats, they are very beneficial to the ecosystem.
Bats are very important to the ecosystem. They pollinate certain plants. Bats are very important with avocado pollination, for example. Bats are also known to pollinate balsa trees. So when you're stirring your coffee in the morning with that little wooden stick, you have bats to thank for that. And also, if you're sitting out in your yard at night and you see a bat flying around, you can rest assured it is eating those mosquitoes that would otherwise be feeding on you. And they also provide extensive benefits to farmers. The USDA estimates that bats save farmers $3.6 billion a year in crop losses by consuming the insects that would otherwise have damaged those crops.
Florida is home to 13 resident bat species, including threatened and rare species such as the Florida bonneted bat. Many of those species do not roost in man-made structures. In addition to the benefit of keeping mosquitoes and other night-flying insects at bay for residents enjoying the outdoors,
people in Florida can do a lot to help bats survive. They can keep in mind that bats are very beneficial to the ecosystem. When you see a bat flying around at night, it doesn't necessarily mean that it came from a large colony somewhere. We have a lot of bats who use things like dead palm fronds to roost and rest during the day. And so by leaving that vegetation at your home, instead of removing it during normal landscaping practices, you can provide habitat for bats that way. You can also put up bat houses. There are lots of resources available for construction of bat houses, or you can purchase them in different places and put those up.
Exclusions of bat colonies must be complete the second week of April, when bats begin giving birth to their young.
Typically, if you have one bat in your attic, you probably have more than one. Bats are either solitary roosters, meaning you'll find one or two. Those are not typically found inside human structures. The ones that you're going to find in your house tend to be clustered as colonial roosters. And roosting basically means that they are resting through the day, so they're nocturnal animals. In order to remove them from your house, you need to put up what's called an exclusion. And an exclusion basically just prevents the bat from being able to re-enter the house. It allows them to leave, but not come back in.
For more information on Florida's bats, you can go to myfwc.com/wildlife. Click on Species Profiles and look under Mammals.
Every day, Florida's courageous first responders work together to keep Florida safe during all types of hazards, including wildfires near homes and communities. Florida's first responders are asking for your help to increase safety and accessibility during wildfires with 3 easy steps. Create a clean, fire-resistant space around the home. Make a family evacuation plan and evacuate early when wildfire is near. For more, visit floridaforestservice.com or wildlandfirersg.org.
Sexually transmitted diseases are on the rise amongst Volusia teens and young adults. In this week's Community Health Matters, Dr. Holly Smith shares the results of a new report released by the Department of Health in Volusia County.
The number of STDs in Volusia County has been on a steady rise.
That's according to a new report from the Department of Health in Volusia County. The report looked at chlamydia, gonorrhea, and syphilis, and the results are sobering. The number of cases of chlamydia and gonorrhea has increased 20% each year since 2013. Yes, 20% each year. Syphilis rates also remain high. They jumped dramatically in 2016, but they pulled back just a bit last year. These trends in the wrong direction are not unique to Volusia County. It's occurring across the state and across the nation. So what's causing the increase?
One of the things that is a concern is that young people just don't seem to be taking prevention seriously, and as a result of that, we do see those. The diseases, for the most part, with chlamydia, gonorrhea, and syphilis are easily treated with antibiotics, and so people see this as a reason not to worry about it anymore. What they don't realize is that approximately 75% of chlamydia and gonorrhea cases, in women especially, are asymptomatic, and so the women actually have the disease that's causing problems in their reproductive tract unknowingly, which could have future consequences. So just because they're easily treated doesn't mean they're always treated.
These statistics support that theory. About half of the STD cases for each of these three diseases was found in people aged 20 to 29. Teens aged 10 to 19 also account for a high percentage of those infected. Now, along with age, STDs are not evenly distributed among males and females, among races, and among geographic areas of the county. For example, females logged 2/3 of the chlamydia cases. Males logged 3/4 of the syphilis cases. The black population had the highest rates of STDs for all three diseases.
We do look at the geographic distribution of diseases in terms of zip codes that we're seeing high numbers, and we do tend to see the highest rate in Volusia County in zip code 32114.
All three of these diseases can be treated with antibiotics, but again, the problem is that often they are not treated. That's because people can have the diseases and be totally unaware that they are carrying and even spreading a disease.
Chlamydia and gonorrhea can be asymptomatic. Approximately 75% of females and probably 20 to 25% of males can have the disease and not know it. And because they're bacteria, they can be spread through sexual intercourse. With syphilis, it tends to be a minor sore initially that you may or may not notice. It's painless, so it doesn't, it's not something you might notice, and so you can have that and spread it at the time. Then when you get secondary syphilis, you may or may not have any visible lesions, but you can spread the disease to others as well.
There are long-term consequences for people who do not get treated for chlamydia and gonorrhea. Males can develop problems in the reproductive tract. Females can develop chronic problems in the reproductive system, including infertility. Untreated syphilis, well, that can have additional, more serious complications for unborn babies and even their parents the longer they're infected. You can avoid these complications by being proactive about your health.
The recommendation is that all sexually active women be tested at least annually for STDs. The concept of testing the men has gone back and forth. The Preventive Medicine Task Force has said that it's probably not cost effective, but certainly it doesn't hurt because obviously the women are getting it from somewhere. So we do recommend pretty much, especially in the younger age groups, that all sexually active people get tested routinely for STDs so they can be treated before they can cause additional problems or spread to other people.
Along with annual testing, you can avoid catching a sexually transmitted disease by abstaining from sex or by engaging in a mutually monogamous relationship. Limit your sex partners, wear condoms consistently, and again, get tested every year. Testing is quick and easy, and there's no cost for STD testing at the Department of Health in Volusia County. That's right, there's no cost testing for STDs at the Department of Health.
STD tests are offered at Florida Department of Health locations in Daytona Beach, Orange City, and New Smyrna Beach. If you're looking for a copy of that STD report, you can find that online. The address is volusiahealth.com/stats. For the Florida Department of Health right here in Volusia County, I'm Dr. Holly Smith.
Volusia County Vice Chair Deb Denny's will host a community meeting from 6 to 7 p.m. Thursday, March 29th at the Brannon Civic Center in New Smyrna Beach. Denny's County Manager Jim Deneen and staff from the Public Works Department will provide updates on numerous construction projects in New Smyrna Beach, Edgewater, and the unincorporated areas of Volusia County at the meeting. Topics include Smyrna Dunes Park boardwalk and facility improvements, Bethune Beach Park hurricane repair improvements, Hiles Avenue off-beach parking improvements, 27th Avenue beach ramp improvements, inlet and intracoastal waterway channel dredging and beach disposal, marine wildlife and artificial habitat reef program, beach littering program, Park Avenue widening, Turnbull Bay Road bridge replacement, 10th Street widening, East Central Regional Rail Trail. Attendees may ask questions after the presentation. For more information, log on to volusia.org. April is National Child Abuse Prevention Month, and leaders are hoping to increase awareness to make sure kids grow up healthy. Healthy Start is teaming up with several community stakeholders to shed light on this important issue within our community in an effort to raise awareness.
And so the goal is to have collective impact. You know, that we're together stronger, you know, as a force than we are individually as agencies. And so we do touch each other out there on these cases, but it's real apparent that if we can align our information, if we can align our efforts, and if we can get feedback from our families about what they need, we have a better chance at changing some of these outcomes.
Social service agencies, law enforcement, and academic institutions from throughout Volusia County came together recently to announce they will be hosting a town hall community meeting to bring awareness about infant and child injury and death.
We head into April. We want to have this community meeting. We want to have an open forum where the families can really have a voice and affect change and tell us. These are the things that you all can do as community leaders and as agencies to help us keep our kids safe.
The Town Hall community meeting will be from 5 to 8 p.m. Tuesday, April 3rd at the Florida Department of Health in Volusia County, which is located 1845 Holsenbach Drive in Daytona Beach. For more information about the Healthy Start Coalition of Flagler and Volusia Counties, visit healthystartfv.org, or you can call 386-252-4277. As residents and visitors make plans for the Easter holiday weekend, Volusia County Beach Safety has some tips to help make your visit an enjoyable one.
When people come to the beach, our main concern is for their safety. We want people to come to the beach and have fun. Main concern is their safety. We do want them to know all the regulations and the rules, especially when driving on the beach. We do need you to drive with your window down, your driver's side window down, absolutely no texting. Speed limit is 10 miles per hour at all times. It is radar enforced. And we do want you to just pay attention. You know, pay attention to the people. People are walking on the beach. They're not really looking at the traffic lanes. They're looking at the water.
Depending on the tides, beachgoers should anticipate intermittent or lengthy closures of vehicle access ramps at times, possibly 1 to 2 hours during high tide, although some may be able to remain open. Beachgoers may want to consider off-beach parking, which is available at designated locations from Ormond by the Sea to Bethune Beach. Beachgoers are encouraged to travel north or south of primary thoroughfares to frequent less congested ramps.
Depending on the surf and the weather conditions, we may have to stay closed for long periods of time. So we do ask you to check those tides before coming to the beach, especially on those holidays and weekends.
For a complete list of vehicular access ramps, visit volusia.org/beach driving. Weekend vehicular access ramp openings and closures are also shared on social media. Beachgoers should follow Volusia County Beaches on Facebook and Twitter at Volusia Beach. Beachgoers also should remember to leave only footprints and remove all items they bring to the beach, especially their trash. Items left on the beach can create obstacles and hazards for emergency workers, pedestrians, and wildlife. For more information about Volusia County beaches, you can visit volusia.org/beach. Let's join Community Information Director Joanne Magley in the studio with her guest, Chief Jeff Smith from Volusia County Fire Rescue.
Thanks, Amber. Well, no matter where you live in Volusia County, there is a risk of wildfires, especially during our dry season in the spring. So with us in the studio to talk about wildfire safety is Chief Jeff Smith, Director of Volusia County's Fire Rescue Division. Hi, Chief.
How you doing?
Good. Thanks for being here today. You know, I haven't talked to you in a while, so we wanted to get an update on the conditions out here in Volusia County. I know last weekend we had crews that were working on a 50-acre fire near DeLand.
Yeah, that popped up on Sunday, March 18th, and again, that was a cause. Human behavior led to that fire in a remote area, very difficult to get to, wound up being 50 acres, fast-moving, as you could see. For any of the folks that were watching it on the news media or were nearby, it was pretty visible all over the county, as a matter of fact. But it was hard getting a handle on it. Luckily, it was in an area where there wasn't any structures that were threatened, but fast moving because it is dry right now, and it has been. We've been inching up, and we've had those days that have been red flag days by the National Weather Service. They haven't made it to the red flag alert days that forestry will mandate, but certainly cause for concern, so we ask folks to think about their behavior. If they're burning or doing anything out there that could lead to problems, those are days we need to be very mindful of our actions.
And I know last week we did get a good amount of rain, but those are just pockets, days here and days there. You know, you won't really probably see relief until our full,
right.
wet
we get
season starts.
Right, like you're right, a couple of inches of rain or an inch of rain, it only puts a pause on it until we get the next one. So depending on how many days we go before we get really good rain, that's going to be an issue. For us with that fire, that held it in check, so it gave us a break. Now the problem is lightning strikes. We have had a lot of lightning strikes. We had a tornado threat also combined with that weather that came through, so we don't know what's going to pop up in the future.
So when we have the dry conditions, and like the fire that you mentioned that happened near the DeLand, what are the most common causes for these wildfires?
It's human behavior. It's people not thinking about burning something and leaving it. If they have a campfire, a makeshift fire somewhere in the woods, if they don't put it out, if they've discarded smoking materials, has always been a problem. We can still see people doing that going down the highway. The other thing is just bad practice with, maybe using fireworks and things like that that are combustible and people not realizing that they're not completely extinguished.
Right, and because it's dry and because the wind conditions can just blow an ember and really just torch an area, ignite another area that's dry, that's how these things spread so quickly.
When we have a burning fire, and we talked about the wind, we can have spot overs up to a half mile or even greater out, depending on how dry it is. And that's, like you said, that's a problem because here we've made a line in the sand, so to speak, and that's going to be our defensive line, and it'll pass us, and then we got to run and play catch up. So it's very difficult.
People who lived here in Volusia County for a while, they will remember the 1998 wildfires. That destroyed 58 homes in Volusia and Flagler counties, and it forced the evacuation of the entire population of Flagler County. So what sort of conditions were going on back in those 98 wildfires, and could we see something like that happen again?
We can. As a matter of fact, last year we imposed a burn ban. We were ripe for a repeat of 98. You have a really good wet fall, vegetation grows. You don't have anything to kill everything off. There's no clearing, and then in the spring you get a really dry drought weather pattern, and then all of your growing fuels will start to dry out and they become very, very fertile for burning. And that's what happened in 98. And if you remember, we went all the way through until July before we actually had any kind of rain. The wildfires of 98 is still the benchmark today for what we look at. We're aware of the weather, we monitor the weather. When we see things lining up like it did in 98, then we really get cautious about watching what's going on. Forestry Service does too. They'll limit burns. They'll limit the landowners that are doing these big burns, which have been problematic for us in the past too. So we all have learned from that. And what we want is we want the public to learn from it too and practice that safe landscaping, that 30-foot perimeter around their structure that is free of any kind of ladder fuel or any kind of combustible material that'll get up on the wall. We want the trees trimmed back. You know, the gutters and the roof, that's the problem that really needs to be focused upon right now. And I'll give you a prime example. I was up cleaning ours out last week, and you can't believe with all the oak leaves that are falling right now here in the springtime, that's when the oaks in our area drop their leaves. That is fuel like you can't believe. So folks need to clean their roofs off, the valleys, the gutters, and then blow out around their houses so that there's nothing there to take root, if you will, and start the fire burning.
And I know some people might be surprised that mulch that a lot of people like to have as decorative landscaping is actually highly flammable. So you recommend ditching the mulch in favor for some other alternatives?
Yeah, we're going to ask you to use decorative rock. There's gravel, there's different colors gravels. If you want to put pavers down or something like that, it might be a little bit expensive, but it does give you some extra space. Gravel allows the moisture to go back into the ground, so that's probably your better choice. But mulch, while it's cheap and it does the trick for the holidays or whatever event that you're trying to cover for, it's just like the fuels that are in the woods, where layer upon layer of leaves and limbs have fallen to the ground and died. We call that duff. Sometimes that'll get to a foot thick and it'll just hold a fire and be very difficult to put out. So the same thing applies to a homeowner. Unless you're running a sprinkler on that, it's going to hold fire and actually contribute to burning other things around your house.
So what's on the horizon for fire safety in Volusia County? Do you have any sort of outlook for the season? Is there such a thing?
Well, there is, and we're expecting, based upon the interaction that we have with Florida Forest Service, that we could possibly have a continuation of a dry spring, which will be something that we got to be looking at. You know, we've had these days where the wind, and I was just talking about the National Weather Service issuing a red flag warning. That's different than what forestry does, but it's certainly the conditions are right for things to burn, even though that drought indicator is not up there where we normally see it. So 350 is not very high at all, but we have to just be aware. So the most we can do is be reactionary and be aware of our surroundings and take actions based upon that. Limit burning. We'll be aggressive and institute a burn ban if we continue to see that drought indicator go on up. And then we'll we'll work with the news media and you folks here at Communications Information here in Volusia County and get the word out and try to get people to just be aware of what's going on. That's the first goal. The second is that the homeowners need to take their every opportunity to keep their place safe and limit exposure. And
you have a lot of good information on your website, volusia.org/fire services, and on the webpage there's information about basically, keeping your home, fire-wise, and instructions on just what you were talking about, barriers.
Creating those natural barriers, yes. Taking care of business so that you can protect yourself. And we have some photographs in there of actual fires where people have had that 30-foot barrier, and guess what? Their house was unscathed.
Wow.
Then that's what you want to do. So we definitely want to get that word out. But anytime anybody wants to contact us, volusia.org, click on Fire Rescue under Services. There's all that information is available. If they want to send us an email and have us come out and have an engine company come out and inspect their property and give them our take on what we think they need to do, we'd be glad to do that as well.
All right. Well, Chief Jeff Smith, Director of the county's Fire Rescue Division, thank you so much for the good information here about preparedness.
You're welcome, Joanne. Thanks for having me, and always glad to get the word out.
Amber, back to you.
Thanks, Joanne, and thank you too for watching Volusia Magazine. If you have any questions about the show, you can feel free to give us a call at any of the numbers you see listed here, or you can log on to volusia.org and click on the News tab at the top of the screen to find us. And we hope you won't forget to listen to Volusia Today. That's Volusia County Government's weekly public radio broadcast. Volusia Today airs every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Sunday mornings on the local radio stations you see on your screen. For Volusia Magazine, I'm Amber Osmond, and I hope you have a wonderful evening.